और उसमें वो कहता भी है कि तुम्हारी और मेरी दुनिया अलग है. बहुत सारे हैं भावना, there are so many wonderful compliments.
Weaker dogs bark the loudest, things like that. Vidus will be like, ये क्या कर दिया तूने?
So कितने सारे लोगों ने जब कहा कि यार वो आटा चक्की देख के हमारी आंखें भर आई.
Thank you for pushing me or for telling me that it's okay to restart, because many a times that is the most difficult thing. Hi, this is Bhavna and you're watching India Today. If there's one film that released last year that deserved all the applause, and rightly so, it is 12th Fail, and I have the cast join me today only on India Today because the film is in the 25th week and doing so well even today. Firstly, a huge congratulations, Vikrant and Medha. How are you?
Very well, elated, extremely happy.
I can see that on your faces as well, and a film like this doing well deserves this kind of a response,
Thank
obviously,
you for saying that.
from the audience and from the critics and everyone alike. Rightly so, 25th week mein, matlab, in today's time, it is very rare that you hear of a film doing well and consistently performing good in a theatre. In times when everyone was actually contesting whether films are even working, will films even work, there was so much cynicism. And then comes a film like 12 Fails, where all the trade and everything has gone for a toss because everyone is like, ये क्या हो रहा है? ये amazing हो रहा है जो हो रहा है. But I believe that the response has been phenomenal, but has it still sunk in? Because I know that all of this applause and all of this adulation, great, everything is fine. But because you're so close to the film, it's a part of your labor, right? Absolutely. Like product of your labor. Has it still sunk in कि अच्छा चलो मतलब ये process और ये film अभी खत्म हो चुकी है, like it's over. Do you is it?
Has it?
Like
it kind of did sink in, I think, after the OTT release, 2 months after that. But like you said, it just keeps on growing.
Yeah.
This film keeps on giving. Every month there is some another highlight, some other milestone that we've achieved. So it's every month you have to like catch up with the sinking in feeling.
That's true.
Because like, okay, new thing has happened, so okay, let this sink in. But yeah, it's absolutely overwhelming.
Yeah, Vikrant, for you?
I think, now it has kind of sunk in. And as you said so beautifully, and thank you for that, 25 weeks in today's day and time,
Yeah.
I think very seldom does something like that happen. And to be a part of one such thing, I think it's a major feather, at least for me, on my cap. And really excited, really happy that people are still going to the cinema screens and watching it, despite the film being available online. There are people who are watching the film, like, there's multiple viewings happening.
I have watched it twice.
Oh,
and I remember texting both of you that I was so overwhelmed.
Yes.
I mean, with every watch, and it's very rare for a film in today's time to have a rewatch value.
Yes.
And that too within like the first 3 months or 4 months. It's rare. It's very
rare. And most importantly, we've been saying this since day one, that it's the audiences who are the actual real heroes. They are the ones who made time to watch this film. They are the ones who recommended this film. For a film of this scale, the kind of success it's achieved, it's a major chunk of it is only possible through recommendation.
Absolutely.
And for us, as I said, to witness this is an unprecedented feat. I think all of us are really elated, really happy. Cake bhi kaata, cake bhi khaya. Khoob maze kiye.
I was going to ask, what kind of celebration? I mean, it calls for a huge celebration, but what was it like for the team to just like quaintly celebrate this success? Because मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि film भी एकदम शांति से आई है, एकदम मतलब undertone में ही सब कुछ हुआ है.
Exactly the way you said it, and because it's a VVC film, a Vidhu Vinod Chopra film, the celebration was also like the way he likes it. As you said, quaint, with his people, with his team. And so we even got certificates.
We got really cute certificates.
Really lovely certificates, which I'm sure most of us would frame it.
What does that read?
There's a graphic of when he's become IPS, and there's a picture of that, and there's 25 weeks of silver jubilee.
That's so cool.
And then they've named Vikrant.
A lovely note penned by Sir, thanking each and every member of the team.
Signature. So it's like a whole certificate.
And I mean, a film like this deserves that for sure, right? And I believe, and I remember last time when we had a word as well, restart was the thing which really struck a chord with everyone, right? Because all of us are looking for that motivation and that life lesson where we are like, okay, fine, this has not worked. Should I continue? Should I not? And I think both I mean, for you it is still very new, but Vikrant has been part of the industry for long enough to have many such moments where this restart has really helped. When you now, I'm sure you must have now encountered people coming in, fans coming in, and probably at some point saying that thank you for pushing me or for telling me that it's okay to restart, because many a times that is the most difficult thing. Do you remember any one such fan encounter which has really moved you perhaps?
I've been very fortunate, and most of us have been very fortunate, to receive such kind words. बहुत सारे हैं, Bhavna, there are so many wonderful compliments and
something that has really stuck a chord.
I mean, it's difficult to choose one because the language remains universal. सबके struggle, like you might be from a different background, but चाहे वो struggle हो या aspiration की बात हो या फिर restart करने की बात हो, the language is pretty universal in that case. So there are people who don't even live in our country जो बाहर से भी call करके कह रहे हैं कि thank you for this film. And when they say thank you, despite us not directly impacting their lives, and indirectly impacting their lives through entertainment, I think that's the biggest compliment any creative artist can actually get. But बहुत सारे, it's tough to pick and choose one. Like for example, there was a girl who was going through a tough time. She sent me a message and she said, thank you so much. I think I needed something like this. So I said, बहुत से, there are, and people of all age groups. There are people who are my mother's age who are like, they've reached out to me, they've thanked me for the work and the film overall, not just me, the kind of film we've made. उसके लिए तो ये इससे ज़्यादा खुशी की बात नहीं हो सकती है.
I have a very sweet incident that recently happened. I took a cab and when I reached my house, the cab driver refused to take money from me. And he was so persistent. He was like, "Ma'am, मैं नहीं लूँगा आपसे पैसे. आपकी फिल्म ने मुझे इतना, मैं भी 12th फेल हूँ और आपकी फिल्म ने मुझे इतना मोल." And then I kept on saying, "Please आप ले लीजिए." And he's like, "No, आप 11 रुपए दे दीजिए." So
अच्छा, शगुन के पैसे दे दीजिए.
like, मेरी इतनी हैसियत नहीं, मैं आपको 11 रुपए दूँ आपकी. So that's how much people are impacted by the film, and that's how much love and respect they have for the actors in the film, director, everybody. It's insane. It's
and that also brings a lot of responsibility. Medha, I know Vikrant ko main nahi puch rahi because he's always lived up to that with the kind of body of work that we have seen so far. But for you, do you feel that sudden pressure of sort of like living up to that responsibility, because now everyone is looking forward to seeing that what Medha has in store next.
I am definitely looking forward to see what she does next.
अभी
तो इतने सारे ऑफर्स हैं
I'll be honest, I am taking my time. I'm not jumping right into whatever is coming my way. I'm taking my time because I wouldn't call it pressure, but I do see this as a responsibility to keep producing good work, to keep producing good acting, because I've started at such a film like this, so I just feel there's added responsibility. I have to show face to Vikrant. Vidhu sir will be like, "Ye kya kar diya tune?" So I just
Medha, meri laaj rakhna.
Vidhu sir will be like, "Kya kar rahi ho?" So no, it's nothing like that. They're all very kind, but I'm just saying because the film did so well, so I just feel it has to be.
Absolutely, and we are all waiting for that. I mean, please take your time and don't hurry, because I feel that the next step has to be even more special, because this was a very, very special film. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is also going to release in China, right?
Yes.
And that's again among the other things that the film has achieved. This is again, because I remember one of the biggest films that released in China was Dangal, and that was years back. And tell me how special is that, because now that audience is also going to see it, and there's a huge audience for Indian cinema in China.
No, it's something that we are all really looking forward to.
Will you all be traveling perhaps?
I think it's too soon to be talking about it. But really excited. And as you said, after a very long time, something like this is happening. So it's been in the works for a few months, and finally the news is out and everyone knows that the film is releasing in China. And very rightly said that, there is a huge demand for Hindi movies there. Or Indian movies rather. So there are more than 20,000 screens there. So
wow.
So China really caters to their entertainment segment.
Absolutely.
And hence the numbers, the numbers that even the previous films that you mentioned, the numbers they made is primarily, it begins with the number of screens. So if there are nearly, I don't know the exact number, but I know there are more than 20,000 screens there.
That's immense,
So,
and that's really cool. Yeah. Because I think this film is going to do what Three Idiots did globally, you know, because everywhere I travel, especially in South Asia, it's like कोई और film पता ना हो, but Three Idiots पता होती है. I think in 2 years from now that will be 12th film.
Hopefully.
Because I feel that is the kind of audience you all are trying to reach. Okay, now before we let you go, I have to ask you to break down 5 scenes from the film which I absolutely loved. Okay, these are scenes which have individualistically Manoj also in it, and Manoj and Shraddha scenes together. Okay, so please take me to that process.
Sure, please.
I will start with the first scene, which is one of my favorite scenes in the film, which is in that flour mill factory when Shraddha comes and sees Manoj after a little bit of gap, and there's that conversation that happens that what are you doing here? This is the time when you should be studying. Why are you in this? And you say that, you know, even Abdul Kalam sir ne bhi aise kiya tha. Can you take me and can you recall perhaps how did you probably approach that scene?
I think it was pretty simple, you know. और उसमें वो कहता भी है कि तुम्हारी और मेरी दुनिया अलग है. From my point of view, from Manoj's point of view, you know, they come from very different socio-economic backgrounds, and he's someone who has no qualms in doing what he was doing at that point in time, which any other person would classify as a lesser job or a lesser work. He just wants to make ends meet. He wants to support his family, and he's very happy. He sees that job as a very dignified job, whereas most people would not. But that was not the case with her. The reason why they were a team and a fabulous team as Manoj and Shraddha is because their worldview was similar. But to evoke a sense of togetherness, to evoke a sense of responsibility from the audiences, to evoke a sense of, as I said, because majority people would see it as a lesser job, but this boy has a very wide grin on his face when he's welcoming his friend Shraddha or even his father. वो एक गोनी
that childlike grin, you know, when you see someone so close coming
and that does not matter to him, you know. आमतौर पे जब हमारे घर मेहमान आते हैं तो हम 1 घंटे पहले सफाई करने लग जाते हैं, right? तो वो उसका वैसा नहीं था, you know. The doors were always open and the smile would always remain the same, because as I said, he never saw himself or he never classified his job as a lesser job, and that spoke, you know, that reflected a lot about his grit, his character, his worldview, and you know, his dignity and pride. And so कितने सारे लोगों ने जब कहा कि यार वो आटा चक्की देख के हमारी आंखें भर आई थी, I'm very happy to hear that, because it did click or it did resonate with people. But when she comes in and when she offers her help, you know, out of pure care and love, and he says कि नहीं, मैं पैसों की जरूरत नहीं है मुझे, you know, and then he says, you know, कि he's inspired by Abdul Kalam. उनके पास वो तो स्ट्रीट लैम्प के नीचे बैठ के पढ़ा करते थे, मेरे पास तो फिर भी अपना बल्ब है. तो कई बार like metaphorically अगर हम देखें तो what we tried to speak about or what we aspired to speak about was, you know, your state of condition is in your head.
Absolutely,
you know? And external validation is something that, you know, unfortunately we seek, but by the end of it, what matters is how soundly you go back to bed with yourself. And yeah, so I think we did a decent job.
You did a very good job. That is one of my favorite scenes from the film. Medha, what was going on in your head before you approached it? Because while a lot of the performance was actually riding on how Manoj is delivering his lines, because आपके action पे उनका reaction is what really causes that effect, right? So what was in your head? Like, how do I approach it? How do I make Shraddha look like as pure and innocent as it is supposed to be? Because, you know, especially when a girl comes and just says that, you know, I can just offer you money, there are two ways to look at it.
Can be misunderstood.
You know, but it is your performance which actually makes it look convincing enough for us to not judge Shraddha at that point. So how did you approach it?
You very nicely put it. So my approach basically was, my biggest concern was this is a very sensitive topic, to offer somebody money who's, you know, who you already love, and situation is not great, they have just fought, and you know, all of that. So there was a certain hesitation, there was a certain oversensitivity that I brought into the conversation, also while having this underlying seething anger that this person is not listening to me, let me help you. And also she loves that part of Manoj, that he's so real and he's so, you know, he's always standing on his own 2 feet, but she's also, her heart is breaking seeing him in such a condition. So for me it was very important that this conversation comes out in a very sensitive manner, so that in no way does Manoj feel any less than Shraddha. Because that would easily happen.
Level it is
the society as a third
it's
person,
a tightrope.
anybody would feel that she comes from a better background and he comes from a. So even though she realized that Manoj is not that person, Manoj doesn't see him, like he said, any less of a man just because his circumstances are not great. So my approach was to be very, very sensitive about it and to not in any way look like I am on a certain higher end as compared to him. I just wanted to be like very sensitive and very like this about it.
That is why I'm telling you. That is, I mean, I know a lot of people actually rave about the last climax scene, especially when you see the result. But for me, this is one standout scene.
I must tell you, Vidhu sir's favorite performance of mine in the film is that scene.
Really?
Yeah. So you have a good eye. You have a good eye. You have a good eye.
How lovely.
But another scene, Vikrant, this is of Manoj. I think this is the only scene where you actually see him lash out. Like lash out in the sense where he's literally like saying that...
The library.
The library scene where you see that transition where he's very shant throughout. But the moment you say कि तेरे बाप के जैसा होगा, and he's just like, please, I mean, that is the hard line. That is where you don't cross the line.
And you will realize when I say this, and last में वो कहता है चोर नहीं है हम. And that hum is not for his father or him. चोर नहीं है हम सब वो ईमानदार लोग जिनकी आर्थिक स्थिति ठीक नहीं है, लेकिन ईमानदारी से काम कर रहे हैं. वो एक सोशो इकोनॉमिक बैकग्राउंड से आने वाले लोगों को एक नजरिए से देखा जाता है, और वो भी वही रिप्रेजेंट कर रहा है कि अभी से ये हाल है तो जब IAS से IPS बन जाएगा तो फिर तो देश को लूट के खा जाएगा पूरा. So it signifies a particular and a major chunk of our country's socio-economic background, which is a notch below the lower middle class.
What was your discussion with
Vinod
everyone?
Yeah.
No, just like everyone around, because that scene requires a certain kind of atmosphere to be able to pull off.
I think on a Vinod Chopra set, I think that thing वो कहने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती है. तो whatever the requirement of the day is, वो माहौल वैसा हो जाता है. And तो रात का सीन था, वैसे ही आधे से ज्यादा लोग थक हार चुके थे. तो naturally वो एक माहौल चाहिए था वो था ही. But coming back to the scene, वो जब कहता है कि अभी से ये हाल है, as I said before, ये देश को लूट लेगा जब IAS IPS बन जाएगा, तो he said कि पापा को बोला ना तो वो उठा लेता है वो चप्पल. बट उसमें उसके भाई में और उसके फादर में ये फर्क है कि वो चप्पल मारता नहीं है. इफ यू सी, उसके फादर मारते हैं, उसका भाई मारता है, ये नहीं मारता है. अब है चंबल का खून गरम है, लेकिन ये थोड़ा सा इवॉल्व है, थोड़ा सा दुनिया देख के समझ अपने ही फादर या भाई की गलतियों से सीख चुका है. One life is too short to commit all mistakes yourself.
And that is such a subtle way of putting it, honestly, because I mean, to a layman, they'll not even notice this difference. And now that you're mentioning, I'm going back to that scene, I'm like, that's actually true.
वो मारता नहीं है, पर वो चप्पल नीचे रखता है और वो तनख्वाह भी नहीं लेता और वो निकल जाता है. और जब वो निकलता है तो वो पैसे के लिए भी वापस नहीं आता है जिस चीज के लिए वो काम करता है. तो चोर नहीं है हम, was what we wanted to go out there and say कि आप हमें इस नजरिए से देखते हैं पर हम चोर नहीं है. हम ईमानदारी से काम कर रहे हैं. ये दुर्भाग्य आपके लिए है कि आप इस चीज को समझ नहीं पाए. And I think that
and it was wonderfully done. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to ask
last question.
Yeah, one last scene, which is again where a friend, a third person comes and says that right, like girls will not support you if this is what it is going on, in that canteen area where this is happening. And as actors, you're not only reacting very subtly to that conversation up until there's a conversation that happens, right? I want to know, how do you approach a scene like that? Because it gives out a lot about the character. Like in your character, Shraddha is her strength is in her shant. Like she's very shant, but that is also her strength. She's not someone who will talk and say that, I'm going to support him. She'll support. And that is one of the scenes where someone is telling कि ये लड़की शायद तेरा साथ देगी भी नहीं after a point, but she's not saying anything. But eventually, I mean, we see what happens, right? How do you make sure that only through your action we are understanding that ये लड़की बात की पक्की है, बोल रही नहीं है चलेगा, but she's the one who is going to support eventually.
So, like you said, actions do speak louder than words, and wherever you see in humankind, internal resilience, internal strength is always bigger. You know how they say weaker dogs bark the loudest, things like that. So I truly believe in that. Internal strength is is paramount. And this girl is all about that. She has nerves of steel, and she just doesn't have to scream at the top of her voice telling other people that, oh, I'm a good person. She doesn't feel the need to. All she cares about is the person she loves, and she knows she will extend that support and love and conviction and give him everything, confidence, love, everything that he needs, without having to take a medal for it from, say, Pandey or whoever other people. She doesn't need a medal for it. She doesn't want, people can think whatever about her, but she knows who she is, and that's her strength, and she will express her love and her support to him in solitude. Not to show it off to the world that, oh, I have done this for my man, this for my man. So that's who she is, and that's what she does in the end. When she says, I love you, Manoj, that becomes his anchor. An anchor that now I'm going to fly, now I'm going to change the world. And that's what they do in close quarters where nobody can see them. And that's what true love is. That
is this entire film and everything else. I don't have time for two more, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Bhavna. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure chatting with you.
अब
पता नहीं कितने कर चुके हैं 10, 12, 15 interviews कर चुके हैं साथ.
I'm so happy this is my first with you finally.
Yeah, but my pleasure is all mine, you know it, because and it makes me happy to see you all grow and like, you know, because I've seen the journey, especially with Vikrant for the longest time, and it only makes me happy to see you grow and do a wonderful work. So thank you so much. Now the next is film जो China में अब release होगी, फिर उसके बाद record पे record तोड़ती जाएगी.
Let's see. Hope so.
वो एक अपना अलग है.
Hope so.
But again, all the very best.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
waiting to hear from both of you what next. I know it's time for them.
Yes.